Many years ago, when I first played through the Metroid Prime trilogy, one of my favorite elements of each game was discovering the alien lore on every planet. Fragments of a deeper story lay scattered around the ruins and natural world, waiting to be unlocked through Samus's scan visor. These initially confusing pieces of information slowly assembled into surprisingly deep and interesting stories of civilizations long gone or on the brink of destruction. The lore of every species added another layer of purpose, understanding, and even empathy to your mission and the history of the world around you. However, buried deep in these lore entries are two small but intriguing hints at alien civilizations we might see in the future, and so we need to explore them in this video as we approach Prime 4. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons for endless Metroid content and other gaming analysis, especially during this journey to Prime 4. So in the original Metroid Prime trilogy, Samus visits multiple planets to either save them or stop their destruction from spreading. On each of these planets, she discovers the full extent of what happened to the original inhabiting civilization through logbook entries. In the original Metroid Prime, she learns of the fall of the Chozo on Talon 4 due to the impact of a Phazon meteor and the cancerous spread that followed. In Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, Samus helps the last of the surviving Luminoth species fight back against a dark world that emerged from a similar calamity that struck the planet Ether. Prime 3 goes a step further and features multiple planets. Most notably, the planet Brio reveals the fallen civilization of Reptilicus tribes, and the floating city of Skytown tells the history of sentient machines created by the Chozo as they explored the stars. Discovering the story and environments of these species is part of the joy of playing through the original Metroid Prime trilogy, and I hope Prime 4 continues this tradition. However, dedicated players might distinctly remember certain logbook entries from the original games that reference a group of several highly intelligent interstellar species that not only met one another, but also shared technology and knowledge. The first glimpse of this is found in the Origins logbook entry in Metroid Prime 2, which reads as follows. It is told that the Luminoth were not born of ether, but of the stars. In the early days, we roamed the greatness of the void, bathing in the glorious light of 1,000 stars. We met a vast number of enlightened minds, the Nikren, the Ila, and the Chozo among them. Each of them we found had claimed a homeworld and formed a deep bond with it. In time, we decided to do the same. This logbook entry suggests fascinating possibilities for Prime 4. I remember being interested in this lore even before Prime 3 came out. It implied there were still other civilizations out there to discover and potentially work with, maybe in future games. However, at this point, we already know who the Chozo and Luminoth are, and we've seen them in other games, but who are the Nikren and Ila? Will we see them in Prime 4? The logbook specifically says those three races besides the Luminoth already claimed homeworlds. Will one of the planets in Prime 4 be the homeworld of the Nikren or the Ila, such as the forest planet we've seen here in the trailer? An advanced temple structure sits in the distance of this shot. Was this built by one of those species? It's a core part of Metroid Prime Trilogy DNA to visit a planet and try and save or work with an alien species, or at least destroy whatever eradicated them to prevent it from spreading. I hope we see that same pattern make a return in Prime 4 with a new species, but will it be one that we've already heard of? This exploration of species becomes more interesting in Metroid Prime 3, which is honestly sort of a treasure trove of lore for the wider trilogy. Although this game gets criticized for trying to tell too much of a messy cinematic or Halo-like story, there's still a ton of cool logbook entries that provide wider context about different species and events. There's one entry in particular that once again references these other mysterious species, part of which reads, "The ships of Brio sped to the stars in all directions, bearing the banner of peace. Soon we found stellar brethren in the Chozo, the Luminoth, and the Ila. Starborn knowledge came to Brio, and we gladly sent our wisdom to our new friends in return." As a quick note, if you're enjoying this content, please remember to hit the subscribe button for more analysis like this. This excerpt is interesting because it once again references the Ila on equal level to the Luminoth and the Chozo, though strangely the Nikren are not added here. It also implies these species all collaborated extensively enough to share prosperous relationships with one another. Will we finally see the Ila in Prime 4? It's interesting that this species in particular is referenced in 2 of the 3 original Trilogy games, yet we've never seen them even during the major galactic events of Prime 3. What exactly happened to this mysterious species, and why have we never seen them before? Were their planets also struck by seeds from the planet Phazon? Is Prime 4 about Samus having to save planets still infected by Phase before it was destroyed? Is Silex trying to harness those remnants and weaponize them again, and is this affecting those other species? It's also worth mentioning that various logbook entries across all 3 games talk about the vastness of the galaxy and how these species traveled the stars. It'd be interesting to see if Samus ventures into deep space in search of something and perhaps rediscovers one of these species, specifically the Ela or the Nikren, who perhaps traveled far beyond the more settled regions of the Galactic Federation. Maybe this sort of distant exploration is what the Beyond subtitle refers to. Perhaps just as interestingly, maybe that far out, Samus would find remnants of the other 3 species, the Chozo, Luminoth, or Reptilicus, but that's a topic for another video. Now, unfortunately, there's no other real information about the Ela or the Nikren to my knowledge. Yes, the creatures on the thumbnail of this video are AI generated based on descriptions from what little info we do have. If you research those species on the Metroid Wiki, for example, it just provides those same logbook entries. However, I think it would be a really cool thread and link back to the original trilogy to see one or both of these species make an appearance. The Metroid games understandably focus a lot on the Chozo, but it would be great to see a new species appear that still has direct ties to the original trilogy. I loved that Metroid Prime 2 in particular featured a new species that was still alive and fighting. I hope that Prime 4 is full of all sorts of these callbacks to the other games, both subtle and obvious. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you have any interest in seeing these mentioned species make an appearance? What returning or new species and characters would you like to see? Leave a comment and let's discuss. Thanks for watching, and please remember to subscribe.